the previous class, we have described to you about the law of return and recurrence. That everything has to return to this wheel of samsara. How does one move within this wheel of samsara? For how long? Why is this necessary? Before we understand about the movement of souls within the wheel of samsara, we need to understand the two laws that govern this wheel. These are the laws of evolution and involution. From an academic point of view, the word evolution means development, progress, advance, etc. From a grammatical and pure standpoint, the word involution means destruction, degeneration, decadence, etc. In this civilization, in the name of science, many doctrines based upon the dogma of evolution are being spread. However, they are far from the truth. The scientific basis of evolution are the nebular theories on the origin of the universe, with a mistaken conception about the mechanical process of construction, and secondly, Darwin's theory on the origin of species, with all the subsequent corrections and changes. However, the appearance of new species as a result of evolution is simply a mere hypothesis. For this has never been verified. Nobody has seen a new species appearing. When the modern thought created the theory of evolution, it forgot the destructive processes of nature. Certainly, none of the processes is known in a complete way. We can only observe part of the process. Scientists say that such a process consists of evolutional changes. It is good to elaborate theories, but we have to prove them with facts. This is the tragedy that the human mind in these modern times is bottled up within the dogma of evolution, and can only think according to its own bottling. So the rest of the phenomena that imply destruction, decadence, and degeneration are also qualified as evolution, development, and progress. The truth is different. Within every evolutionary process, there exists an involutionary process. The law of evolution and her twin sister, the law of involution, work in a coordinated and harmonious way within the whole creation. Concrete examples: day and night, light and darkness, construction and destruction, growth and decrease, birth and death, etc., etc. If any of the two above-mentioned laws, evolution and involution, were excluded, the natural mechanisms would be static, paralyzed. There exists evolution in every organism that is born and develops. There exists involution in every creature that gets old and dies. There exists evolution in any cosmic unit that springs from the chaos. There exists involution in every planet that is losing its vital energy, and which will become a moon, a corpse. There is evolution in every ascending civilization. There is involution in any declining civilization. It is obvious that those two mentioned laws make up the fundamental mechanical axis of nature. Unquestionably, if such a basic axis did not exist, the wheel of natural workings would not be able to go round. However, the modern man believes that there is progress everywhere. To top it all, even the dreadful social degeneration is considered as evolution, progress, advance, etc. by man nowadays. The truth is that the worst blind man is the one who does not want to see. If we take a look and see the present panorama of mankind, we can see the millions of beings who live on the earth. Are those crowds by chance the innocent people from the ancient times? are those the ones who worship the sun and the morning spirits at a time when the earth was resplendently beautiful. Are all these millions of people perfect? Show us a person who has been perfected by the law of evolution. In truth, there has really been an involution. The senses have degenerated. Everything has become horrible, awful. These are not the moments when love for others is visible in humanity. These are not the instants when we worship the holy gods. What has become of the sacred mysteries of the past? Today, everything in general is deep darkness. Fallen angels, profaned sanctuaries, defeated initiates, pain, bitterness. Could we say that this is evolution? Behind the apparent innocence, we see perversities, tremendous corruption, betrayal, saying something and doing the opposite. That is the world here, there, and everywhere. So the dogma of evolution, pushed ahead by modern science, is really tiring. They assure that we are all evolving until we become gods. That is a lie, for the facts are demonstrating the contrary. This has been a huge deception of humanity.
So the laws of evolution and involution operate together in nature. Then could it be true that the processes of human life and death are also governed by these laws?
Even though it may surprise us, the laws of evolution and involution are also experienced by what we call consciousness, essence, or soul. Waves of essences start their evolution in the mineral kingdom. They go on to the plant kingdom, they proceed to the animal kingdom, and finally, they reach the level of intellectual humanoid. Waves of life then descend along the involutive path, according to the law of fall. And again, they go through animal, plant, and mineral processes as they move towards the terrestrial center of gravity. If you want to understand these processes, it is necessary to comprehend something which has been called, by several authors, elementals. It is necessary to know that the elementals are the consciousnesses of the elements. The elements of fire, air, water, and earth are not merely physical things. The elementals are the conscious principles of the elements. There are several sorts of elementals in nature. Obviously, there exist evolutive and involutive types of elementals. For instance, many people think that monkeys, apes, orangutans, and gorillas belong to the evolutive type. And some people even suppose that man comes from the monkey. But such a concept proves to be wrong when we watch these bestial species habits. Take an ape into a laboratory and observe what happens. The diverse family of apes are involutive. They descend from the intellectual humanoid. The humanoid does not come from the monkey. The truth about this is the other way round. The apes are involutive, degenerated humanoids. Let's observe the family of pigs. In Moses' time, the Israelites who ate that meat were decapitated. It is obvious that these types of elementals are undergoing a clear involution. Obviously, you may be quite surprised to read all this in the middle of the 20th century. People have become so complicated nowadays. The mind has diverted so much from the plain truths of nature that it is difficult for it to willingly accept these things at present. This type of knowledge is rather accepted by plain and simple people, by those who do not have so many complications with the intellect. The truth is that elementals are all around us. You only have to awaken your consciousness to see them. See the gnomes or pygmies amongst rocks. They look like little dwarfs with their big books and their long white beards. The most advanced elementals of the mineral kingdom obviously pass to the plant kingdom. when they are ready. Each vegetable organism is a physical body of a vegetable elemental. Every tree, every grass, no matter how insignificant it might be, possesses its own particular elemental. The vegetable elementals are quite free to enter and leave their bodies at will. You are amazed when you find them in the fourth dimension. Those elementals of plants have consciousness. They are intelligent. They are very beautiful. Later, the advanced elementals of the plant kingdom enter the different departments of the animal kingdom. These creatures, which are distributed into multiple families or species, also have their guides and their temples in the earthly paradise, namely within the fourth coordinate, the etheric world. The evolution in the animal kingdom always starts from simple animal organisms. But as they evolve, life becomes more and more complicated. Eventually, the animal elementals will be able to take very complex organic bodies. The most advanced elemental creatures of the animal kingdom always enter the intellectual humanoids kingdom, the so-called human beings kingdom. This is the doctrine of the transmigration of souls, which have been explained by Lord Krishna in the sacred land of the Vedas about 1,000 years before Christ.
This means that every mineral, plant, and animal has a soul, life in it?
Yes! Pythagoras once reprehended a disciple who was kicking a howling dog by telling him, "Do not beat that dog, because by listening to its sorrowful howl, I have recognized a friend who died some time ago. Therefore, we must treat all life around us with respect."
Why is it organized like this movement of souls, or the transmigration of souls as you call it?
Every soul is allotted 108 existences in the human body to achieve its intimate self-realization, to master their life, to become perfect. Those who do not achieve their self-realization within their allotted number of existences obviously descend in the submerged mineral kingdom. They inevitably involute inside the bosom of the earth. In his Divine Comedy, Dante tells us about the 9 Dantesque circles, and he sees these 9 circles inside the earth. There, the souls are tested, and if they succeed in passing through the 9 circles, they unquestionably enter Eden, namely the earthly paradise. To the Mohammedan Sufis, hell is not a place of punishment either, but a place where the consciousness is instructed and purified. To universal Gnosticism, hell is not a place for eternal and endless pains, but a place for expiation, where the consciousness is purified and instructed. You are already familiar with the law of karma by now. Now those people who are unable to learn during their 108 existences in the human body need more time to learn from their mistakes. For this purpose, they are given more time to understand their mistakes. This happens as they descend through the animal, vegetal, and mineral life forms, and into the 9 circles of hell, as described by Dante. Obviously, there must be pain in the netherworld, for life is terribly dense inside the earth. In there, one undergoes unspeakable sufferings. In any case, those who enter the submerged involution of the mineral kingdom must undergo sooner or later a second death, as they call it in the Christic gospel.
Do the souls have to suffer endlessly in hell?
In universal Gnosticism, we have never thought about a punishment without a limit. We consider that God, being eternally fair, would never collect from anybody more than what they owed. For each fault, no matter how grave it might be, has a price. Once the price has been paid, the prisoner is set free. If it were not like that, then God would be a great tyrant. And we know quite well that mercy is never absent on the side of the divine justice. So the second death is the limit to the punishment in the Dantesque hell.
This explanation of hell, is it universally understood in all historical cultures?
Every country, every religion, every era, or every culture has been aware of the existence of hell and have always given a name to it. It does not matter if you give different names to the netherworld. Tartarus in Greece, Avernus in Rome, Avicii or Narak in Hindustan, or Mictlan in the ancient Tenochtitlan.
How many souls usually get to achieve self-realization in the assigned 108 existences?
It is obvious that our Divine Mother, Kundalini, the igneous spirit of our magical powers, tries to achieve our intimate self-realization through the 108 existences that are allotted to each of us. It is clear that in this cycle of successive lives, we have countless opportunities to achieve self-realization. Taking advantage of them is the appropriate thing. Unfortunately, we unceasingly repeat our mistakes, and the final result is usually a failure. It is obvious and evident that not all human beings want to tread the path that leads them to the final liberation. The different messengers who come from above, the prophets, the avatars, the great apostles, have always wanted to indicate to us with an exact precision the stony path that leads to the authentic and legitimate happiness. Unfortunately, people do not wish anything that is related to the divine wisdom. They are trapped in the fascinations of the egos. They have imprisoned the masters. They have murdered the avatars. They have bathed in the blood of the righteous. They hate all divine things to death. In the end, they all wash their hands like Pontius Pilate. They believe they are saints. They suppose that they are going along the path of perfection. We cannot deny the conclusive and definitive fact that there are millions of sincerely mistaken people who, very honestly, boast about being virtuous and think all the best about themselves. All sorts of anchorites are living in the hell. With good reason, the great Kabir Jesus said, "Out of 1,000 who are seeking me, one finds me. Out of 1,000 who find me, one follows me. Out of 1,000 who follow me, one is mine." The Bhagavad Gita says the following textually: "Among thousands of men, perhaps one will try to attain perfection. Among those who try, possibly one will attain perfection. And among perfect men, maybe one knows me perfectly well."
What happens to these souls that are not able to achieve self-realization in 108 existences?
If a human soul runs out of the 108 existences, that soul inevitably involutes within the submerged mineral kingdom towards the center of planetary stability. And a little later, it will reascend evolutionally. However, any new reascent from the center of terrestrial gravity implies a previous disintegration of the myself, of the ego, of the psychological I. As we said before, this is the second death. Since the essence is bottled up amongst the ego, dissolving the ego is necessary so that the essence is set free. In the center of planetary stability, every essence's pristine, original purity is restored. However, the same can be done voluntarily while living on the Earth's surface. The victorious people become Buddhas, masters. Those who have not dissolved the ego descend into the hells within the earth. Those who have failed become transformed after the second death into elementals of nature.
But why do we need a hell for this process to happen?
In order to destroy the oneself, the ego, it is necessary to enter the submerged regions of the abyss. Obviously, only by killing the ego is it possible to liberate the essence. Then the essence reappears and comes out onto the planetary surface to receive the sunlight, to start again a new evolutive process within these two mechanical laws of nature. It would be quite grave that the ego had no limits and that it continued developing eternally. The world's evil would not have a limit. It would spread victoriously, and it would rule over the whole cosmos. Fortunately, the sovereign grand architect of the universe has made a barrier to stop evil. That barrier is the hell. If you want to avoid descending into the hell, you have to attain the intimate self-realization of the being. For this, you must go along the path of the revolution of the consciousness. This means separating and withdrawing completely from the laws of evolution and involution. The revolution of the consciousness can only happen by living every day the three factors of the revolution of consciousness that have been given clearly by our Lord the Christ. If anyone would come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Mark 8, verse 34. Denying oneself implies dissolving the I. Taking up one's cross, putting it on our shoulders, represents the alchemical birth, the work within the Maituna. We shall talk about this matter in future topics. Following the Christ means sacrificing ourselves for humankind, giving our lives so that others may live.
But if someone would still not learn enough from one descent to hell, would they still continue to go to hell with every round in the wheel of samsara?
The descent to the hell repeats time and time again, up to 3,000 times. When the 3,000 turns of the great wheel of samsara for each soul have finished, it is impossible to attain any sort of intimate self-realization. The essences which did not attain mastery within the 3,000 turns of the wheel are absorbed by their virginal sparks, and they definitively submerge into the bosom of the universal spirit of life. However, since such essence which has gone through the 3,000 cycles of manifestation have also experienced the horrors of the abyss 3,000 times, therefore, it is improved and acquired self-consciousness and happiness without limits. So such essences, by their effort, have earned the right to enjoy the divine happiness. If in 3,000 cycles, with 108 lives in each, those three factors for the revolution of the consciousness are not experienced, you find all avenues closed. It is obvious that the failed did not achieve mastery and are excluded from it forever. They are just sparks of the great fire. They were unable to become flames. The way these virginal sparks see the masters and gods is similar to the way ants see humanoids.
How does the dogma of evolution hinder the soul's quest for self-realization?
Those who believe that achieving the self-realization is a question of time, and they leave it to the process of evolution, and obviously do not do any effort for it, fall into a serious error. Those who think that way are postponing their mistakes century after century, existence after existence. And the truth is that they finally get lost in the abyss.